Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Round the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Oh, we really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central.
Round the Hay Bale Unscripted is brought to you by...
With gardening season at an end, Cayce certified organic products are still what your soil needs.
From overwintering fruit trees to preparing your soil for spring, Cayce calcium-based fertilizer gives the essential minerals they need to thrive.
Applying Calzyme to agricultural soils and water has been proven to increase plant and crop yields while making vegetables and grains healthier and more nutritious.
In addition, Calzyme can help restore the nutrient balance in animals when they are fed plants grown using Calzyme in both soil and water.
To check out all of Calzyme's organic products, visit calzyme.com and use the promo code HAYBALE for 10% off your purchase.
Grab a cup of joe and gather round the hay bale with your hosts, Alicia from Country Mama Musings, Anne from Andale Homestead, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, and Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Now, here they are, unscripted. Hey, y'all. Hey!
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to yet another unscripted episode of Round the Hay Bale. I'm Alicia.
Hi, Alicia. I'm Anne.
Hello, Alicia and Anne. It's Cayce over here, and I didn't get the echo. I feel bad.
And hey, everybody, it's Monica. I'm the last one to join the group here. Welcome to this episode. We are on episode 17, and we are talking about all kinds of fun stuff tonight. We are talking about trends, trials, and some tribulations when you're trying out those trendy trends. The things, we've all done them. Yeah, the stuff. We've all tried these things. There's been all kinds of trends that have gone through the social media world, whether you're watching YouTube, whether you're watching Instagram or Facebook or even TikTok. Yes, the TikTok. That's what I call it because I'm old. And whatever you're watching or doing, there's all these different trends and you may have tried them and we have tried our share of trends. And so today we're talking about what we've done, how we've done it, if it's worked for us and if it's not worked for us. And why. So that's what we're starting to talk about tonight or today. So join us and see if you've tried these things. And maybe if you haven't, maybe we can save you some heartache. Or you can just be like, oh, they did it. I can do it too. So who wants to start us off? Okay. Who wants to get us started with something that we want to talk about on this trendy trends? Cayce, are you down for starting, or Alicia?
I was about to say, I can be down. I can be down for the get down. Because I know one of my wonderful co-hosts, Miss Andale, is on Team Cayce for this. But
Okay.
one big thing, and this was a couple years ago, y'all, was ground cover. All of the big YouTube channels were talking about woven ground cover from Growers Solutions. It was the new hot thing. Must get it. They all put their promo code out there. And yes, I was a sucker and clicked that link and used the promo code and got, I think it was like 300 feet is what I got originally. And I will say it is a win for the tribulation because it is wonderful. Sarah and Kevin over at Living Traditions Homestead were the channel that I watched that talked me into it. And basically what they did is they put the ground cover in and they used this kind of lighter, this like, I don't even know what kind of liquid went into it. I've bought it before, but Monica, what is it?
Like a butane lighter.
Yes,
it's like a blue
butane.
blowtorch thing.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so butane lighter, and you burned your hole, all nice and pretty. And then that's where you either transplanted your plant start or you put your seed. And I will tell you, I did it the first year and this last year. And it has saved me so much time on weeding. Now, do you still get weeds in that little hole? Yes. You're not going to have weeds gone forever, but it really has helped me. I know, Andale, we've talked about it a lot that you are also a pro
Absolutely.
ground cover. You want to talk about yours?
My least favorite thing in the garden is pulling weeds. That is my very least favorite thing. And the fabric that we purchased, we did not get from Grower Solution. I got it from a little local discount store. But you do roll it out. You do have to use a little blowtorch, just a little mini blowtorch to be able to have the holes in it. And it does take some prep work to be able to put it in. And you do have to anchor it down.
Yes,
But
a lot of prep work.
it is. I can tell you, it has changed our lives as far as not having to worry about weeds at all. It's just been amazing and wonderful, and it makes my garden so much more peaceful. Alicia?
Now, I have to agree with both of you. When it comes to using it in the garden, we put some down. We got ours from our local hardware store, and we bought the clips to make sure that we hammered that down into the ground and everything looked great. We had it in our raised garden bed area so that we wouldn't have just weeds coming up in between the raised garden beds. And so we put all of that down, and then we brought in a truckload of mulch, and we put that on top, and it was beautiful the first year, and it was beautiful the second year. Well, this year I didn't put a garden in, and I've been letting my chickens free range, and the chickens have been coming through, and they love scratching through all of that decomposed mulch, looking for all of their little bugs. Well, unfortunately, what they're doing is then they're catching the edges of that gardening cloth, and they're shredding it. And I'm not kidding. Every day there's a chicken who has something wrapped around their leg that I have to go out and rescue them because they have completely shredded everything in the garden. We're going to have to pull it all up next spring and do something different.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to try to do for this next spring is not Living Traditions, but over at Doug and Stacy, they like to get a hold of the tarps. Why is there an echo? Does anybody else hear an echo?
I do. I hear an echo.
I hear an echo.
Echo, echo, echo. Hopefully it doesn't throw off our listeners too much. But I want to get one of the big tarps that they use on billboards, the billboard signage. When, a lot of the times those are just big plastic tarps now. And they put them up and then they take them down and they replace them. Well, sometimes you can get a good deal on those plastic tarps.
Oh,
I want to see if I can get a hold of one of those and just cut it to size for what I need and put that down, and then put my mulch. I want to do pea gravel next time, and that way I don't have to worry about it breaking down. So I'm going to be going in a different direction. I'm going to probably be avoiding that garden cloth this next time, but it did work really well when we actively had the garden going and there were no chickens in there. But now it's a little bit of a nightmare for me.
Okay. Well, we do end up replacing it most every year. I mean, every spring we do end up replacing it.
Ours ain't got time for that.
Yeah. Ours is a breathable cloth. It's not the hard plastic or the thick plastic. It's a breathable cloth so that the water can come through. And when we water our plants, then you can water down the middle of the rows if you want to, and you can still get the water on your plants.
Yeah, I'll say also that ours is not something that we replace every year, but I will say that I did not like about the ones that we got is we cannot do that in Dale. When I water, it puddles up on the ground cover, and I have to plant in a certain way where I know the water is going to roll down to the plant. But see, I roll my fabric up every year. So I don't leave it out. Like, sadly enough, reminding
Mama
myself.
Ain't got time for that.
Well, I'm reminding myself that I may have to go do that in the next 2-3 weeks. And I store it with my trellises and my T-posts. And that's when I go into the garden and I'm putting in, any fertilizer or Kelzyme or anything that I'm putting into the garden for the next year, chicken manure, compost.
Right.
But no, I wish I would have the ones that you have, Vandale, that lets the water kind of soak through, because this one does not. So that is a tribulation of the one from Living Traditions Homestead. Is this one is a good hard plastic, and it does not let it soak through. Monica,
It was
what
a
about
Triumph. Didn't we discuss before what the difference was between Triumph and Tribulation? I had it wrong. Is Tribulation a good thing or a bad thing? I forget.
Tribulation would be bad. A triumph.
Okay, so
is
it's a
win.
Triumph.
you?
Casey,
It's like
it was
a
a Triumph.
wah. No, well, it doesn't soak through, so it's a wah for some
Oh,
things.
so that is a Tribulation.
Yeah.
But it keeps the weeds out, so it's a Triumph.
Yes, now, yes,
Pick your
I
battle.
will say that. I will pick my battles because Fat Boy doesn't like to go out to the garden every single day to weed and bend and
The
pull.
weed.
So,
Oh, it's horrible.
oh, and listen,
Backbreaking.
listeners, me, Ann, and Monica are in the South, so we get those wonderful like 97, 115 in between there summers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we joked about today that I was like, listen, I don't like getting bright red calves and white calf down to my ankles from the farmer's tan because you're out there, on your knees. So your back is getting sunburned and the back of your calves is getting sunburned. But then you look like one of those old, what is that ice cream that has the 3 flavors?
Napoleon.
Neapolitan.
Neapolitan ice cream. I look like a
Napoleon
Neapolitan
is an
ice cream.
entirely different
Sorry.
subject.
Yeah,
Just
we're
point out.
unscripted, y'all. Unscripted.
However, if it weren't for Napoleon, we wouldn't have Iowa. So
Well,
Okay.
let me
Oh
just.
my God.
I'm a womp womp womp. So I'm going to pass it on to Monica before I stick my foot in my mouth again.
Oh my goodness. Well, a real farmer's tan isn't just the shoulders and the arms, it's actually the legs too. Because if you're a real farmer, you're going to have the calf tan where you have the boots that come and they cover. That's how I know my boys have been out there working hard. I'm like, "Oh, nice leg tan there as well." Okay,
Nice
so I
legs
don't
there,
have-
son.
Yeah, nice leg tan, son. No, I don't have shade. We don't use the ground cover.
Okay.
We don't have that at all. As a matter of fact, Eric's like, no, we don't need that. That's expensive. We don't. Although I will say, after battling weeds for the past umpteen years, he's now like, maybe we should look into ground cover. And I'm like, we're going to lasagna it. Okay. So right now we're looking at the Back to Eden. I'm looking at the Hugel
Is
culture, all
Eric
that stuff.
listening now? Eric, listen now. Eric, listen. Hello, Eric. Eric Bland. Please tune in.
I don't want ground cover now. I want to do the Back to Eden. I want the wood chips. I want that because I know that works. I've seen it work. I've seen Carmen Nathan's property over there. I've seen that work and I'm like, I can do this. So that's the kind of soil that I want because I know my soil is I already know that my soil has it's been aerated enough because I till it every year. So I really think that putting ground cover on it won't improve my soil. I want to improve my soil by adding all the good stuff back. So I am constantly thinking compost, layering, I'm going to lasagna method, whatever I'm going to do. I'm doing the cardboard. I'm really going to go Back to Eden instead of doing the ground cover. But on the same note as something over your garden, I don't do ground cover, but I did shade cloth this year. And I mean, all I can say is shade cloth, where have you been my whole life? Because I have had my tomatoes burn up the last 2 years, I want to say. And I was like fully prepared for my tomatoes to burn up over the summer. And then I told Eric, I said, hey, I managed to get some shade cloth on a discount. I saw it on Prime deals. I was grabbing them when I saw them on Lightning deals and stuff. And I got them for my pigs because I felt like the way the sun comes into my pig pens, I need my pigs to have shade, especially when it's like 150 degrees by noon. So I put shade cloth over my pig pens, and the shade cloth has different degrees of shade. It's like 55%, 75%, whatever. Well, I ended up grabbing like 6 or 7 shade cloths that were big, and I used 3 of them on the pig pen. So I had like a handful left, and he was like, why don't we just put it over your stuff out there in the garden? And I was like, can we? Should we? Let's do it. And let me tell you, I have tomatoes right now, like still. All of my greenery underneath of there survived through our massively, disgustingly long drought this summer, as well as the fact that nothing burned alive under them. It was amazing.
Awesome.
Everything was lush and green, and we just started getting rain again. I think we had like 63 days here without measurable rain in my area of North Texas. And my garden still looks pretty good. and I've got plenty of weeds to show for it. Like my
Right.
garden's like the weeds have not let up. But I
Right.
will say that shade cloth is phenomenal. Do you guys use shade cloth? Do any of you use shade cloth? Because I'm gonna say I'm a believer and I will always use shade cloth from now on.
I haven't
We
used
have shade cloth. We have purchased some, but it seems like if I find myself in a situation where I have to do something on the quick, I just have some flat sheets that I was able to pick up at the thrift store for, 50 cents. And you could put those over your plants as well. If, let's say, all of a sudden there's a forecast where it's like, hey, tomorrow it's going to be really, really hot. And you're on the farmstead by yourself and you don't have shade cloth up and you don't have anything to get it up quickly. I mean, you could just throw a towel. I'm sorry, not a towel. You can throw a sheet over your tomatoes and it's going to protect them from that.
Well,
Okay.
we didn't do the shade cover or flat cheeks this year.
Flat sheets.
Oh, I'm so
Sheets.
sorry. My
Sheets.
apologies.
My
My apologies.
the older I get, I do have flat cheeks. My husband did inform me that I have his stepmother's backside because I told him, I said, please,
Join the
just put me on
club,
pasture if I
girlfriend.
ever end up
Join
with
the
a backside like my
club.
mother-in-law's. And I asked him the other day, and he said, yeah, you got her flat cheeks. And I just about died. But getting back on topic, because we are unscripted, and
Flat
all of my
sheets.
co-hosts thought I said I had flat cheeks.
Well,
Girls,
no.
have you seen me? You know there's nothing flat about this. I just got rolls for days.
You are on a weight loss journey and
You
a health
are.
journey. So your health journey may lead you to flat cheeks. I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm going to have
since we were
buns of steel.
back to flat sheets, like what you put on your bed, we didn't use those or now my brain's
shade
gone.
cloth.
Shade cloth. Thank you, Andale. Get us back together. No, but I did this year. We did, for those who followed us, we put a lot of money and a lot of time into our 3,000 square foot pumpkin patch this year. And
Yeah.
besides getting deer and some bugs that ruined it, it was right in the center, ladies, that leaves were like burning up, like they got too hot. So I thought maybe next year I need to try and put some 8-foot shade cloths over the pumpkin patch.
Yeah.
Just because we know in the South we get that hot sun, and we may not get the 117 like Monica does in Texas, but we get some killer sun, and maybe that would save my pumpkins a little bit. So I'm glad that Monica brought that up, because I'm definitely going to use it next year.
Well, for your pumpkin patch, I watch Grow Jack Outdoors. It's a precious young boy that grows giant pumpkins.
Yes.
And he uses shade cloths. And that actually was one of the first times that I had seen that. Because it is trendy to use shade cloths. It's something that's gone on a long time. I just haven't seen it before. But he uses those, and they're movable, so you can move it to grow what section you need for your pumpkins.
And what's that channel's name, Miss Ann?
Grow Jack Outdoors.
Grow
And he's
Jack
a young,
Outdoors.
He's like 14, probably, maybe by now, maybe 13. He is a YouTube, Facebook star. He's just a star. He's wonderful. And he traps and fishes and restores old cars and grows giant pumpkins and watermelons. And he's cutie. He is in Oklahoma, and he does a fabulous job.
Well, you would think, especially all these shade cloths would probably help, because you think like with greenhouses. Like I know that I have a 55-foot greenhouse on my property. Do any of y'all have greenhouses that use shade cloth on y'all's property? Anybody on the panel?
I'd love to have a greenhouse, and someday I will have one.
Girl,
but alas,
come and get mine.
I do
Come
not.
and get mine. Monica.
I'll trade you my flat cheeks for them.
Yeah. I have a greenhouse, but we don't have shade cloth on it. But I think that I may start doing that next year, and I may start instituting some, and because there is a certain area of our greenhouse that gets a lot of high sun. So
They
I
say
may
it's
put
like a must for like greenhouses. They say it's like if you because the way the plastic is made, like because again, if you're making your own greenhouse for the people that are listening, it's not the same plastic as you get from the Wally world and put on your greenhouse. It is a different type of greenhouse. It is, I mean, you have to get greenhouse plastic and it just works well with shade cloth. I think it's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. Like if you put those two together, you can grow a lot more stuff in your greenhouse. And I will say next year, season 5, let's talk about shade cloth again. And also, while you're listening to this, make sure that y'all are going over and at the very bottom of all of our podcast episodes is a Linktree link. Click on it. It's super simple. It takes you to our Linktree link. Say that 7 times fast. And it has all of our storefronts. And with holidays around the corner, y'all, go to our Amazon affiliate link. It costs you no more money, but it just shows Amazon you came from around the hay bale, and they say, hey, that podcast, they're pretty nifty over there, and they give us a little cheddar change. And we appreciate it. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
But it's important because they're going to be able to find some of the things we're talking about today, especially, the shade cloth, maybe some of this particular shade cloths that I've been able to find. One of the tricks for me with shade cloth is that I look for sales. I look for the deals on Amazon. I look for them to be on lightning deals. But if you're looking for specifically ones that we've tried, then I'm definitely going to make sure that you guys have that link there that you can go to so that you can see what we've used in particular that we've had experiences with. When it comes to with, Cayce and Ann or even Alicia, we want you guys to know that whatever we're using and we have liked or what we have hated and whatever we've enjoyed or not, we can link you to that so you can see and have that experience yourself.
My flat cheeks will not be there.
No flat cheeks.
No flat
but
cheeks.
I will say that, since all of these episodes that we're shooting right now, because again, we shoot earlier in the season, we are going to have a Ann-like, an Alicia-like, a Cayce-like, and a Monica-like on our storefront. So if you're an Andale fan, if you're an Alicia fan, if you're a Monica fan, or a Cayce fan, you can click on that and we will have our favorite stuff in that link that you can go to Amazon and shop and just give a little ho ho ho.
I called dibs on the
helping.
Nesco. I called dibs on the Nesco.
The Nesco is going to be in every single one of them.
You can be fans of all of us for that because we're all Nesco fans.
I had a lot of tips left to share about my flat sheets. But I do think we should move on to something that really is a triumph, and all 4 of us know it, and that is the Nesco pressure canner. It's the electric pressure canner.
Oh, yeah.
And all of us, I think Cayce was the last one to get his. We had to convince him to, oops, hit that
peer pressure, listeners.
But he's so glad he got one because we all love our Nesco electric pressure canner. Now, keep in mind that is not the same thing as a pressure cooker. It is the pressure canner, and we love them. I use mine all the time. I love making my Fiesta beans. We had Fiesta beans for dinner tonight, and I made them in my pressure canner, and I love them.
I enjoy our electric canner. It is. It's so easy to be able to use that electric canner. I have both. I have an older pressure canner that you have to put the big water in and so forth, but it's so heavy. And this Nesco is so convenient and easy and really does the work for you. I just love it.
It really is set it and forget it.
Yeah, you can put 1 jar in at a time if you want to. Go ahead, Monica.
I think that as I'm getting older, I'm not by far, I'm not old, but I feel like I'm getting older. But as I get older, I feel like some of the things that I need to put on my priority list are things that are going to cut down my time, but also things that are going to be easier for me to deal with. And with this pressure canner, you mentioned, Ann, how the countertop pressure canner is more, it's easier to deal with. It's easier to handle. If you have any type of grip strength or any type of lifting issues, any type of restrictions when it comes to your strength or your abilities to lift or twist or tighten, canning with the pressure canner, the electric pressure canner on the countertop is much easier. It's much more manageable at a level where if you're having grip strength, right now I'm dealing with off and on grip strength, things like that, and it works for me. And I also have a stove that's small, and I cannot keep temperature on my stovetop that's old and smaller. So for me to run a pressure canner on my stovetop, a big one, even though I have one, it is not safe. In my mind, it's not safe. So the only way for me to pressure can right now is for me to use the electric pressure canner. And I absolutely love it for that. Cayce?
I was just going to kind of piggyback on that because one, being the man of the host panel, even with their super heavy pressure canning, it is a set it and forget it kind of electric pressure canner. We are all homesteaders. Life is busy, especially during canning season. You're doing usually 90 things at once. And the only time that you have to pay attention to that pressure canner is when it goes from E1 to E0 and you have to seal it at the top and then let it go. I mean, if that
it turns itself off.
It turns itself off and you can come back and get to it. And I learned from Monica about canning leftovers and soups.
Yes.
That is the true reason that I got that. Because listen, when you're living by yourself or if you have family visiting and there's only 2 people and you cook a wonderful pot of soup, okay? And you have a ton of leftovers. Yes, you could leave it in the fridge and block up all of your fridge space and let it sit there forever. Or you can scoop it into some nice quart jars, put a 4 jars lid, use Hay Bale 10 for all of your needs for that, and put it in your electric pressure canner and pressure can it, and you have leftover soups for convenience food over the winter. I mean, it's
awesome.
Mind-blowing. It's awesome. I mean, I don't know what else we could say about it.
When I put my leftovers in the refrigerator, I go, okay, am I going to throw you away now or next week? I mean,
yes.
What am I going to do? And so to be able to have this electric canner that you just pop out on the counter and you can do a jar or 2 or 4, whatever you have, then I have found myself personally trying to cook a little extra so that I can have some extra to be able to put in.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait a second. You put yours away?
Yes.
Mine's been on the counter for months. I haven't put it away. It's still there.
Mine moves between my countertop and the hallway, and then it comes back out. The kids are like, "Why is there a canner in the hallway?" I'm like, "Because that's where it belongs."
I thought we were talking about leftovers. I'm over here thinking like, Alicia, you left your leftovers out on the counter, and Monica's putting them in the hallway. I mean, where are we going with this?
Monica's canner.
Keeping our leftovers in the
We all need a sponsorship from some type of hearing aid company because all of us are hearing things wrong. So if you are like with Miracle Ear or something like that, we all need help.
That's truer than you think, honestly. It's really true. Yeah.
So what is our other trend that, it's so funny, y'all that are listening. We actually did our meeting right before we went live, and we had a whole list of trends that turned into triumphs or tribulations.
Well, I will share with you,
Monica,
when I first started looking at putting my garden together, now, where did I find this? It was Sarah. Is it Living Traditions that I saw it? Or is it the other channel? I don't remember, but I saw somebody using cattle panels, hog panels for the archways for your garden. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need to have that in
Roots
my
and Refuge.
life. Roots and Refuge. That's where I saw it. Yes, thank you. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go shopping for some of those panels so I can have some pretty arches in my raised garden. So I went to my sister's farm when she wasn't home. And I went shopping on the back 40, and I took all of her cattle panels and all of her hog panels, and we actually put a chain around them and hooked them to the bumper. We hooked onto the hitch of our truck, and we just drug them down the gravel road to my farm.
You crazy kid.
And so now they're in my garden because she wasn't using them anyways. But don't do that with your neighbors. Only do it with family because that way you'll catch charges if you do it the other way. But But I'm so
Family
happy that I was
only.
able to go shopping at my sister's farm because I love
This is a
those.
disclaimer, y'all. Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. We're going to get letters.
Are you enjoying the Hay Bale topics? To learn more, click on our Linktree link to get all of our product recommendations, along with discount codes and more.
I love having those archways in my garden, and I've used them for squash, for my green beans, for my tomatoes. I even grew watermelons on them. And I have a little tea garden for my granddaughter. I put one out there with just a little wrought iron bench underneath it, and we call it. It started out as her tea garden, but now it's her pea garden because we not only grow marigolds, but we have the morning glories that grow up over, and then we have the little sweet snap sugar peas. And so those grow up over as well. So anytime she comes and visits, she goes out to her little garden, and she can eat all the little snap peas that she wants. And you know what? I have a bucket. I'm not kidding. I have a bucket of suckers in my pantry that are untouched because when the kids come over, they go straight for the sugar snap peas instead. So that's a huge triumph in my book right there.
That's awesome. Well, see, our area is not cattle country. And so when we go at Tractor Supply or any other supply stores that have the cattle panels, because I want them, they're like $65 a piece. A piece. And I can't justify that. So it's crazy.
Hit Marketplace up. Keep searching Marketplace because somebody has purchased them for $65 a piece and then realized it was a big wah-wah for them. And then you can clean up and go get them and just drag them right behind your vehicle all the way home.
There you go. Yeah, I need to learn how to work Facebook Marketplace. I don't know how to work that. But
I'm right there with Dale. I mean, we are not cattle country out here, even though I am friends with some ranchers that live down the street from me. But our Tractor Supply always has hog panels. And with our hog panels, that is what I have trellised our garden on. And I learned that, again, surprise, you guessed it, Living Traditions Homestead. I use the T-posts and I what is that? Those plastic snap ties, y'all, that you can, or zip ties. There we go. I zip tied the hog panel to the T-post and my tomato plants grow up. They do great. I'm able to use it over and over, but even the hog panels, I still paid $47 a hog panel.
it's insane.
And that's crazy. And in our
I do have a tip, Cayce,
what is
because
that
you
tip?
mentioned the zip ties. When you're doing your gardening and you're going to buy those zip ties, when you go to the big box store to get your zip ties, save buying the shovel and the tarp and the bleach and all that. Save that for another trip. Don't buy all that at one time because you'll raise eyebrows.
Oh my gosh.
What?
This is gonna need one of those like explicit content.
What?
It's
Warning.
the content that we discuss on this episode may.
No, it's kind of like warning. The content that Alicia discusses on this episode may be triggering to a human being over the age of 1. But no, haha, hee hee. I wish I had that boom boom kind of sound. I don't think I have it in here. But no, it's so expensive. And we have our little private chat as we're shooting our podcast. And Monica, you were saying $28 for cattle panel here?
Well, okay. So for a 16-foot cattle panel and a 16-foot hog panel, $28 each. Now the hog panels are shorter. They're 34 inches versus a cattle panel, which is 50 inches, which is why we use cattle panel as a trellis for our tomatoes. I tried to do one of those really pretty archways this year for my fall garden, and we had a cut. We only had an 8-foot hog panel, but Eric lifted it off of the ground and then put 4 different T-posts in there, and he raised the hog panel up so it started a little higher, and he had just an 8-foot. So it's really pretty, but I'm having trouble because my Trombosino squash wants to come through, and the hog panel So the difference between a hog panel and a cattle panel, for people that don't know, the hog panel is shorter typically because hogs are smaller than cattle most of the time. But hog panels actually have smaller squares and smaller slats at the bottom, and they get to larger squares, whereas cattle panel are even squares all the way up from the bottom to the top. And that's to keep the piglets in for the hog panels. So I have hog panels that I'm using for my squash, and all the, the little squares are different sizes at the bottom. So my little squash things are getting stuck in there, the small ones, and they're going to have some abnormal shapes. So I'm having to trellis them on the outside of that square. So I kind of like, okay, I'm learning my lesson on this one, that I need to, if I'm going to trellis squash and trellis certain things, I need, especially the bigger things, I need to use cattle panels. Hog panels are not going to be great for this. Now, hog panel might be really great for trellising tomatoes because I'm just using it as a guide to go up and not really to go through.
Right.
But for me, I mean, we have a 16-foot cattle panel. We have 3 16-foot cattle panels. Eric raised them off the ground. About a foot is where they start. And we trellised all of our tomatoes straight up, and they just stretch across. But it's a really nice way to keep my tomatoes kind of organized. Okay. And I love it. And to have the little trellis like Alicia was describing, I thought it was so cool to show my 7-year-old yesterday the Trombosino squash starting to come down through the bigger squares. And he was like, Mom, what is that? And I was like, it's squash. Look at it. And he like walked underneath and he was like excited. It's a little tiny, small little trellis, but that was the magic that I was trying to go
magical.
For. It is. So I told Eric next year I want like giant archways. I'm like, I want giant ones. I want 16.
Yeah.
So yeah, next year I'm gonna
what Monica's talking about, and a great example of it is for our listeners, and we're going to have someone be a guest on an upcoming show. If you head on over to Old Swede's Farm on YouTube, he has what he calls it his tomato alley. And I don't know how many cattle panels he uses. There's got to be, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them in a long row. And they have almost every variety of tomato you can think of growing in these beautiful archways. And it's just one solid long tunnel of tomatoes. It's beautiful. But he also uses them for the straight growing, like his green beans and such. He doesn't arch those, but he does trellis them. He has a really great garden setup. And so he's going to be joining us on our podcast in a future episode. But if you get the chance, head on over to his channel as well. Show him a little love. Let him know that we sent him over, because we talked about some of the bigger channels. But I think we should share some of our friends. And Old Swede Farm is a great example.
Old Swede's Farm. I just want to make sure I had the right channel.
Yes. And they have a beautiful garden set up. I'm so envious of it.
Yeah, it's massive.
We visited them, and I came back and I told Papa Jim, I said, we're just clearing a whole area now because we have to have a garden like theirs. And then I took a nap and I forgot all about it. So.
Well, they're so knowledgeable too. I think
they are.
I think all 4 of us being YouTubers, we get tons and tons of comments that we have to weed through and comment back. And every time I see Rich comment, I'm like, ooh, I gotta pull that one up because there's probably some really good information that I need to know. And he's just really knowledgeable, and their garden is breathtakingly beautiful. Truly, absolutely gorgeous.
It really is. And he uses ground cover.
He does.
Just for reference.
He uses ground cover.
He's got ground cover. He trellises. He uses raised beds. I mean, like, he is like trying to the max.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
I remember when he put a short video up with all of his raised troughs. And he's like, does anybody know what I'm going to be doing? And I'm like, oh, I know. Because that's what I do here, too. I knew exactly what he was going to do. His garden is beautiful. It really is.
Well, another kind of area of gardening, and we have talked about this on other previous episodes of the podcast, is hydroponics. Hydroponics was a big kind of trend for a while, still kind of is. Does anybody here do hydroponics or aquaponics? And who wants to start?
I will. I do the hydroponics.
Alicia will.
I don't do aquaponics because the fish are in the fish tank where they belong. But I've tried Cracky. method for hydroponics, and I've also tried the actual setup where I've got the bubbler and the water flowing and everything. And what I did was I was actually really motivated from Lisa over at Yogi Hollow Farm because she was doing a whole setup with the Cracky method. And I thought one of these days I need to do something like that. And we had gone to an auction a few years ago and we brought home a stainless steel salad bar. One of those big rolling stainless steel salad bars with the sneeze guard and everything. And we got it for $1. And it sat out in the workshop for a couple of years. My husband says, we need to throw this thing away, or we need to give it away, or put it on Facebook or something, get rid of it. And I looked at it, I thought, oh my gosh, that's my new salad bar. I'm actually going to grow my own lettuce in the salad bar. So we cleaned it up, brought it in, and we had it all set up as a hydroponic growing system with a floating lettuce garden. And the lettuce grew so well that the rows in the center actually kind of got squeezed out and went bad before I could use them because the other lettuce around it grew so quick and so fast.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it did really, really well. And at that time, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to the store and I'm buying $6 for a clamshell of salad greens.
Right.
When I could be growing them in my kitchen. And for the longest time, that's exactly what we did. If we wanted a salad, I would just turn around, snip, snip, snip on my, just grab and go salad bar, rinse it off, and I'd make a salad. If I had a hamburger, I'd just turn around and I would find where I had some leaf lettuce and snip, snip, and put that on my hamburger. And so we did that for the longest time. Well, this last year, I did the Cracky method. I drained everything out of my hydroponics and I set up the Cracky. And I have to say, I like the hydroponics much, much better. I had a much better success rate with the hydroponics. And really all it was putting in good water, adding my Kelzyme to the water, and then having the fish tank bubblers so it would aerate the water and circulate the water. And we had beautiful, beautiful lettuce growing in that salad bar. I miss it. I'm doing it again next year. Cayce?
Awesome.
I was going to say, we actually had a whole episode on, I think we called it Let Us Talk. But we all learned the Cracky method from Lisa. And if you don't know who Lisa is over at, well, you know who Lisa is from Yogi Hollow.
I know who Lisa is. I don't know what the Cracky method is.
Again, Miracle Ear, please get in touch with us. Cayce needs a hearing aid.
I do. You see, I have like one of my headsets off because it's so hot in my studio. Anyways, she taught us. She is so knowledgeable on the Cracky method. She is just brilliant. And I have set aside quart jars that, for anybody that knows me or follows me, I don't give away quart jars like that. I mean, that's for my canning. That's my gold. But she talked about blacking out, painting black her quart jars and doing the Cracky method for lettuce, which I'm going to be trying this fall. Because that is one thing that I have not been able to master, and that is lettuce. I cannot get lettuce to grow here at Ormsby Farm, and we love salads. So
last year when it was 25 below, I had salad growing in my kitchen window.
Isn't that
so
wonderful?
it really is
beautiful?
Worth it. It really is worth it.
It is.
Now, Ann Dale or Monica, have either one of you ever did hydroponics or the Cracky method?
I have a couple of hydroponic systems that were sent to me. It's a lot of fun to be able to grow groceries in the wintertime. I mean, I could grow most of these things outside, but when you're talking about December, January, February, and you go and pick your own herbs, you have fresh herbs that you have fresh dill, you have fresh lettuce, these types of things, and you can just sit it on your kitchen table and watch it grow. And you don't have to even worry about watering it or anything. It has this little stick that rises and falls and tells you when the water's low, when to fill it back up. And so, yeah, I have really enjoyed hydroponics. I have not tried Cracky. I don't know, what is it that's called? It's aqua something, where you have fish below your plants.
Right. The fish will poop in the water, and that is an uptake for the plant in the roots, and so it feeds.
And that's the
So it's
aquaponics, huh?
right, and so
Aquaponics,
it
that's what
becomes
it
just
is.
like this symbiotic little
Yeah.
biodome kind of a system where everything feeds everything,
And let me just
it
say,
works
for the
really well.
non-vegetarian people, which would be Alicia, or no, Alicia is the
Non-vegetarian?
vegetarian.
I'm the
Alicia is
vegetarian.
she's
Let's
our
get it straight.
she is the vegetarian. But for the non-ones like me, Monica, and Ann, the aquaponics is really good because that's another source of meat. One of the homesteads
If
that
you
I
do
watch.
tilapia. Now I've
Yes.
had friends that have actually done it with goldfish. They've had little
Oh.
goldfish and minnows and such. They've done that. But you know what their problem was, since we're talking about trials? The squirrels were getting into their aquaponics system and eating the fish.
Oh, no.
That
Those
was a
darn
big
squirrels.
wah-wah for them.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, well, I hadn't heard of that. But I do have a lot of fun growing in the wintertime. And you can see it. You walk by and you see it on your kitchen window, or I don't have a kitchen window, but I do have it on my kitchen table, because it doesn't matter if you have direct sunlight or not. It's, it has its own timer to go off and on. It's only supposed to be on for a certain number of hours. But I hear an echo again.
The echo is back.
There we go. It's okay. It's all right.
Maybe it's a fifth host. Maybe we have a fifth host tonight.
Is that you, God? It's me, Margaret. Oh, wait, wrong show. Wrong show.
Thank you, Alicia.
Okay, so I don't have hydroponics. I've never done hydroponics, but I keep trying to play with my greenhouse, and I'm not sure if I'm just going to go for hydroponics this year. I'm going to maybe try a Kratky thing. I like to experiment. I like to try new things, and I've been talking to the kids about maybe experimenting and trying to grow some lettuce over the winter, because we love salad. We love lettuce. We like adding it to everything we can, and I can grow it in the ground, but it'll only last so long. So I would really, really enjoy growing lettuce all winter if I could. So we'll see. If it's going to be done, it's going to be a project that I'm going to have to just try to have the kids help me with, and we'll try it out and see.
Well, I need to hook you up with the company that has sent me a couple of them.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah. There are also micro mini tomato plants that you can grow in the hydroponics. So you can have your lettuce and your tomato.
Wow.
You can have your herbs growing all in there. It's just
I'm trying to convince my mom to do something like that, because, she's already said, she's like, Monica, look, honestly, I miss having fresh vegetables. She's like, I loved when you grew stuff up here in Maryland. And she likes when I bring her things when I visit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, Mom, you can go buy from a local farmer. She's like, well, there's not really a lot around here. And I was like, why don't you just try to grow a plant on your back porch? And she's like, I kill everything. But I feel like she could do hydroponics.
She could do that.
I do feel like
I
that.
think I know what Monica's mama's getting for Christmas.
I honestly think that might be a good idea. Her birthday's in January, so maybe I'll get her something. I have an idea for Christmas already, but maybe this is what I get her for her birthday. Because,
and if any of our listeners are thinking about a good Christmas present for a family member that's thinking the same thing, I'm sure we'll have some links in our store.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, though. I mean, I think we're going to have a whole episode on this type of stuff, though. So maybe we shouldn't give away all of our really great present ideas now, though.
That's so true. That is so true, because we are going to have a nice little ho 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 Santa helper kind of episode.
But we are going to talk, talking about growing our own veggies, one of the fads, one of the trends out there, everybody wants to, raise their own meat birds. And if you have space for it, people are talking about it. People have been talking about it for years, growing their own chickens. And, meat birds are a thing that people like to try. Honestly, I feel like the trend wasn't the Cornish cross as much as it was moving from Cornish cross to Red Rangers. People were like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go with Red Rangers. I'm not going to do Cornish cross. I'm going to do this. And then there's always a new fad for which kind of meat animal you want to raise.
Right.
We've done Cornish cross. We like the Cornish cross. They're filthy, disgusting animals. But in the end, you're happy that you raised your own meat and you know what you put your, money and your time and your energy into. And I know what I was feeding the whole time. So as much as they're dirty and they're filthy and they're fat and crazy, I would raise them again in a heartbeat. And I do. I raise them every now and then, but I'll raise them again if I had to. So yeah, that's my jam with Cornish cross. Cayce?
Well, hold on one second. Let me step onto my soapbox. Let me take that big step. But now we do have we have another episode that we are speaking with naked gardeners on poultry and raising poultry. And this is my
channel.
thing.
That's not their current status of dress, let's just say.
Yes, put that out there. They're not naked gardening all the time. Maybe just
NAKID.
NAKID. But when I first heard of Cornish cross, like everybody else, I heard it from the big YouTubers that were raising it for their meat. It was so amazing. And then you heard, as Monica said, the transition. All of them were like, no, let's not do the Cornish cross now. Let's do the Red Rangers. And now you think about it. Let's think, because one thing that we all pitch in our channel, whether you're vegetarian like Alicia or Metasaurus Rex like me and Dale and Monica, is that you want to be self-sufficient. Now, self-sufficient, community sufficient, same kind of thing. But you cannot be self-sufficient with Cornish cross. You cannot breed them to produce eggs that will turn into chickens that year after year you can incubate those eggs and make chickens. It's not possible. You have to get it from a factory, and that's just kind of how it is. And I don't think that is truly self-sufficiency. If you want to be self-sufficient, you need to have a good meat bird or a dual purpose bird. I'm not going to give away the name that we talk about in our upcoming episode, but there are some out there. And you want a good solid breast on a chicken, or a thigh, or a good leg. And Cornish cross, I'm sorry, ain't my jam. I'm not with it. I'm not hopping on that train. And Dale, did you hop on that train, or have you thought of hopping on that train?
I've thought about hopping on that train, I could tell you. But we live in a neighborhood, so I'm not supposed to have but 4 chickens per lot. Luckily, I have 4 lots, so I have a few more than, chicken math happened to us. But how long do you have to keep meat birds? It's not a terribly long period of time, because I'm thinking
I think it's 7 weeks, 6, 7 weeks.
I could probably sneak away, have like its own little separate pen of meat birds just
right.
For it's going to take them 7 weeks to find me, kind of thing.
And 7 weeks, I think, is the max, right, Monica? It's like the max.
No, we did ours. We actually did ours a little longer than normal. We let ours go about 14 weeks. The Cornish cross, because I free ranged mine a lot more. So I actually set mine up. I got them in September. I processed them in November. I did 15 at a time. That was the first time I did it. And I let mine go over 12 weeks. I think 10 to 12 weeks is about the recommended. I think it's like the 9 to 12 week mark. It depends on how big they are. It depends on your schedule. It depends on the weather. You need to also time it out for your weather, because you don't want it to be super hot. We did it again here in Texas. I got them the first week of September, I believe. And I think that I processed them the first week of November. So it was September, October, November. So I want to say they're about 13 weeks maybe, or whenever, or maybe we did it the last couple weeks of November. I want to say it was probably about 14 weeks when we finally did them. And I think that was only because timing wise, we were trying to buy a freezer at the time. We had just moved here, and I needed to make sure I had a place to put 15 birds, because I was also not ready for my first experience with meat birds to breast them out. I knew that I was just going to be able to have the knowledge to say, okay, processing them is going to be enough for me. And it's already an experience. I'm not going to try to burden my brain and overload myself with, oh, I've got to process them. I'm going to piece them out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. No, it was, let's process them. Let's go through this milestone first. Let's put them into bags whole, and let's put them in the freezer like that. And so that's what we did for ourselves. It made more sense for us to do it that way, because for us, that's what was manageable.
I hadn't even thought about the freezer part. So no,
Yeah.
I ain't
No,
having no
yeah,
mixer.
Gotta have a
that's
place to
like
put 'em.
that's a unless you can them, which Monica has let me know because I've had a couple on my homestead that needed to go to freezer camp. And I was like, oh my goodness, where am I going to put these in my freezer? My freezers are full of zucchini and yellow squash right now. Legit. I'm not even joking to be kind to Alicia talking about veggies, but my freezer is full of yellow squash and black beauty zucchinis. But I did want to kind of chime in and say that it does say online that it's 8 to 10 weeks is the recommended time for Cornish cross. So 8 to
Okay.
10 weeks. So don't listen to me who said 7.
I don't follow rules.
Yeah, Monica's a rebel. But it does say online 8 to 10 weeks. But again, I'm not a Cornish cross fan. If you raise the eggs or incubate the eggs for meat that you get from your farmyard mixes, I would probably say 18 weeks for that to get a nice, good sized chicken for that. But sorry, I'm
Okay.
off my soapbox again.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, I think that, I mean, it just depends on what you like to do and how you want to do it.
Yeah.
Really.
Now, another thing that's trending right now, and it's something that I'm considering transitioning to, is I do have my little barnyard chickens, and I have my turkeys, and I have my oh gosh, my brain just died. What are my loud birds? My guineas,
Your guineas.
And they will live out their natural lives here on the farm, but I'm thinking maybe when they are done with their natural lives, I'm thinking about looking into quail. And not for
Mhm.
meat, but for egg production, and they won't take up as much room. It's just Papa Gemini, so I can make a little 6-egg omelet out of quail eggs for him instead of just a regular 2 or 3 egg omelet. Okay, 5 or 10 eggs, but I'm fine with just having the quail. They eat less,
Yeah.
and they would require, I believe, a little bit less care. As long as I'm not, you don't free range them, so I don't have to worry about them messing up my garden. But I'm thinking
Right.
about seriously at some point transitioning over to quail. And I know that a lot of people are looking into that and doing that right now.
Yes, they are.
And they
They
are
are.
dual purpose. You get the eggs, and then if you wanted to, you can go ahead and dress them out and have them in your freezer. But you can also, they're sustainable, like Cayce said, is you can get those eggs, incubate them, and then you just have a constant turnover
Mhm.
And also
of
with the
eggs.
quail, it's pretty soon that you can get the eggs out of them, right? Like earlier than chickens. I think quails are more
Oh yeah. My
productive.
neighbor, she has quail. She's the one who was just talking to me about it, and she said I think she said 8 or 10 weeks she had eggs.
Yeah, 2 months they start laying eggs. You can dress them out at 7 weeks, which is less than 2 months. So basically that their turnaround is really quick. And I believe their eggs, it's a 12-day incubation, I believe, or 18 days. There you go. So it's a 3-week incubation and a 2-month dress out and basically a 2-month egg lay. So it's a really quick turnaround. So
Mhm.
it's easy to kind of remember that you can dress them out right about the same times they're going to be starting to lay eggs.
And they're a
And
quiet bird. So if you're in a neighborhood like Anne,
Mhm.
they're a quieter bird than chickens are.
they do make noises. So people say sometimes that chickens are quiet. Hens lay their, make their song. And
Mhm.
quails, we have quail, and we did have quail, and we kept our quail in the barn with our rabbits. And the first time I was in there with Abigail doing some rabbit stuff, and I heard noises, I was like, "What is that?" And she was like, "Mom, that's the quail." And I'm like, "They make noises?" She was like, "Yeah, they make quite a few noises." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." Because the male quail will kind of like crow like a rooster. They make noises. So they're not
Oh.
loud. They're not loud like roosters, but they can be
Wow.
a little noisy. And so it's kind of funny because I also didn't think, chickens, I mean, I knew chicken hens like would make noises, but I realized how loud they were once I got them. And quail I
Mhm.
thought were more quiet, but they could be a little rowdy.
Oh.
But yeah, but otherwise they are pretty quiet, and that would be an option. Like Alicia said, that would be a good option for someone who is in a neighborhood and wants something with not only a quick turnaround time, but you're getting eggs in 2 months. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I think quail would be something to think about.
And when
Mhm.
HOA comes by and they say, "Hey, somebody reported you have chickens," you're like, "Nope. Do you hear any chickens?" No, you
Yeah.
don't.
I have no chickens
They
here.
don't know what quail sound like. You could just blame it on the dog.
There you go. Blame it
Blame it on your
everything on the
kids.
dog.
Blame it on the husband.
That's right. There you go.
Well, I think, so we've talked about all kinds of different things. And I think, do we have any other topics we want to talk about? Or are we about ready to be wrapping this up?
I think we're about time to wrap her up. And I think definitely make sure that you share and like this podcast if you want to hear more of the trends. Because trust me, y'all, we have much more trends to talk about.
We do.
Well, and not only that, we can come back every month because the trends are always trending. There's always something new hitting YouTube, hitting TikTok, hitting Instagram, hitting Facebook. There's always something new that strikes our attention and says, oh my gosh, I got to try that for my home. So we'll be talking, I think we'll probably be talking about this more in the future, not next week, but at some point, maybe in our next season, maybe we'll breach this topic again because all of us have subjected ourselves to the peer pressure of trying these new trends. And more often than not, they do work out in our favor. But on behalf of my co-hosts, Miss Ann Dale, Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and Cayce from Ormsby Farms, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us here today. Oh, by the way, I'm Alicia from Country Mama Musings. Self-plug. But thank you so much for joining us here today as we talk about these trends. And we hope that you'll join us again next time. And I'm not even going to tell you what the topic is, but make sure you come back and find out what that is. Now, keep in mind, our podcasts drop on Monday mornings. And then we have a radio show that comes out on Tuesday mornings, 9 a.m. Central. Make sure you come on over and check that out as well. It's our Hey Y'all Hey radio broadcast. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close out this episode. We want to thank our music producer, Kyle Kelly, for our great opening. We really appreciate his efforts in making us look good and sound good. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and tell you, take care of yourself, take care of each other, have a blessed week, and we will see you next time here on Round the Hay Bale.
Join your hosts back here next week on Round the Hay Bale.